Wondered what it's like to work with a grant consultant? That's what we are going to talk about today. The things that you need to consider if you want to work with a grant consultant. If you're new around here, I am Sarah Dobson. I am a research grant consultant, and my team and I help early career researchers get funded at NIH. And I realized a little while ago that I've never actually sort of spoken about this in public. Of course, I speak about it with our clients who are interested in working with us, our prospective clients, but I've never actually talked about what our process is really like and what you can expect working with us. But what I wanted to do today was also talk more broadly about things that you should consider when you're working with any grant consultant or editor, because of course there are some similarities in what we do and what other folks do. So if you are thinking that working with a research grant consultant or editor might be helpful for you, here are some things to think about as you're preparing. And I kind of want to break this out into two different components. I want you to think about things that you should consider about yourself and things that you should consider about your consultant. So let's start out first with the things that you should consider about yourself. So number one, what kind of grant help are you actually looking for? Are you looking for strategic help? Are you looking for basic editing for clarity? Are you looking for subject matter expertise or some mixture of all of the above, right? You need to really think about that because that will point you in the right direction of a person who or an agency that can help you with the type of review that you're looking for. So first of all, you want to get really clear with what type of grant help and support that you're looking for. The next thing to consider is how much collaboration are you expecting? What kind of collaboration are you expecting? Because remember, this is not just handing your document over to a consultant and saying, fix it, right? You have to contribute to the process. And in my experience, it really is a collaborative effort with the PI. So you need to think about what you're expecting in terms of that collaboration. And in line with that, you really need to think about how prepared you are to work with a consultant. And I'm going to talk about this in the next section where we talk about, what to look for in a consultant, but you really need to think about, how far in advance is your grant going to be ready and how much time will you have to actually incorporate the feedback and the recommendations that they offer you, right? Because what's the point in paying to work with someone if, first of all, you don't want to take their advice, and second of all, you don't even have time to incorporate the advice that you do want to take. So these are really, really important things to think about for yourself before you work with a grant consultant. The other thing to think about is how much of a priority is this grant really? And it's one thing to say, like, yes, this is my number one priority, but where I see the difference in what people say is a priority and what is an actual priority is in the actions that they take, right? So, what is it that you are actually doing to prepare for working with a grant consultant or actually working on the grant itself? How much time have you set aside to put into this? What have you said no to during this period leading up to the grant submission to be able to accommodate the extra time and attention that this grant requires for you to get a fundable score, right? These are all things that you really need to reflect on and consider as you are looking around for a grant consultant to work with. Okay, so now let's talk about what to look for in a grant consultant and some things to consider when you are trying to find a good fit. So number one, how long have they been doing this kind of work? And this will show up in a few different ways because people who are just starting out in their consultancy tend to have lower rates, right? And they can sometimes be a bit more flexible with deadlines. Whereas people like us who've been doing this for a really long time, we're going to have higher rates, but we're also going to have a process, a tried and true process that we expect you to follow. And so that's why you need to ask yourself whether you're ready to work with a consultant, because there's a lot to prepare for if you're working with a team who's very experienced. right? But there's a flip side to either choice, right? So if you're working with a newer consultant, they may be more flexible, but we've certainly heard from clients who've worked with other consultants, and the process of working with them was actually really chaotic and unpredictable, and that can be really stressful when time is of the essence, right? So but the flip side to working with an experienced consultant is they're likely working with multiple clients towards the same deadline and are less likely to have any flexibility around the set schedule and process that they have. And that's true in our case, right? So, for example, we have a very thorough, very rigorous process that lasts about 12 weeks, right? So you have to be ready very early. And we expect you to follow the process to the letter to be able to deliver those results that you are expecting. So coming into that, you need to be prepared to really focus on that and really make sure that your grant is a priority during that period of time, because otherwise it's pointless to work with us, right? But again, if you're working with somebody who is maybe just starting out, they may have a little more flexibility around your schedule. But again, remember that if time management is an issue for you, working with a grant consultant is not going to solve that problem. It's actually probably just going to make it worse. And then you've spent all this money working with somebody for no reason, because you're the one who can't actually deliver on your part of the process, right? So just really, really think about that and consider it carefully before you work with someone, no matter what level of experience they have. Next thing to think about is how specialized is your consultant? So this could be in terms of subject matter expertise or in terms of the funding agency they specialize in, or even the grant mechanism they specialize in, right? So again, with us as an example, we specialize in R01 resubmission. So we don't even work on new R01 submissions. That's how sub-specialized we are. So think about what works for you. Do you want somebody with subject matter expertise? Do you want somebody who specializes in a particular funding agency or even a particular grant mechanism? So consider that and then look for a consultant who matches what your needs are. And finally, how do you know if your consultant is any good? Right? So for newer consultants, this can be tricky because they don't have as much of an established track record. But often what they will have is sort of evidence from their previous work to demonstrate that that there's a reason that they're moving into research grant consulting, and that they have some sort of proficiency with grant reviews, right? So they may have evidence of success in other ways, like prior success. They may have been a faculty member before, and so they had success with their own applications, right? Just as one example. So more established consultants should be able to tell you their success rates. But remember to judge this relative to how they specialize, right? So somebody who specializes in a particular subject matter area across a variety of different granting agencies might have a different success rate than somebody who subspecializes in a particular funding agency or funding mechanism. And so just remember to weigh that carefully when you're asking about success rates. But again, if you're working with somebody who specializes in a particular funding agency or even especially a particular funding mechanism, their success rate should be higher than the average, right? So if you can't expect a higher success rate than what you would normally do kind of on your own, then that person probably isn't going to help you all that much in succeeding where you want to succeed, right? The last thing I'll say about this is that it's really important for you to do your due diligence, but just be careful about what you are expecting of the consultant in terms of providing that sort of proof to you, right? So, for example, with us, we don't connect prospective clients with previous clients because the clients that we work with, in general, want to remain anonymous. And so for us to provide a reference to a prospective client is sort of infringing on the privacy and the time of our previous clients, which we take very, very seriously, right? But we make up for that by having a lot of testimonials on our website. And again, those are anonymous because that is the preference of our clients. but we do what we can to provide that assurance that the people who've worked with us have been very happy about working with us. And so we publish that on our website. It's also reflected in our success rate, but we don't connect prospective clients with previous clients because that is onerous on our previous clients. But so you might see that with other consultants as well, but that doesn't mean that they're being sneaky or they're lying to you. It means that they are being protective of the clients that they work with. But they should be able to point you to other ways for you to make a determination about whether they are trustworthy, right? And obviously, if you feel that something is off or it looks like the testimonials that are available on their website seem fabricated, then use your best judgment, right? But there's in my view, there's nothing sneaky about a consultant who does not want to connect you with a prior client just because of the privacy and time concerns related to that. That is just my personal opinion, but you're fully entitled to disagree, right? But that's the way that I look at it, and that's the way that we proceed in our business, right? So again, some things for you to consider are how prepared you are to work with a consultant, and how do you actually want to work with them? What are you trying to get out of this uh, relationship or engagement, right? What do you want to get out of that? And if it's, I want to get a funded application, then you want to think about, who you're working with and what kind of promises they can actually make you. And then again, how much of a priority you are making this application to sort of come to the table with your side of it, right? Because none of us are magicians. None of us can do our work if you don't also do your work. And that is really, really important to remember when you are figuring out whether it's worth it to you to make this kind of investment in your grant success. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. If you did, and you have watched, other videos on this channel, I encourage you to subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. But the other thing that you can do is sign up for our free resource library. There's a link below this video for you to do that. And inside the free resource library are lots of other videos and tools and tutorials to help you write stronger NIH grants. So thanks again, and see you next time.